Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Discover the World of Whale Sharks, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Eric Ramirez. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you so much for being here today. Take it away, Eric.
Thank you so much for again that incredible presentation, Rob. So again, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Eric Ramirez, and today's topic is discover the world of whale sharks. And for me, this is extra special because I guide trips in Mexico for 6 years of my life, and today I'm very excited to share a bit of how was my experience guiding trips in Mexico. So a little bit of myself. If you joined me the last webinar that I gave, you already know a little bit of me. Otherwise, I'm just a guy who likes to discover the world. I'm from Mexico and I studied marine biology, and it was always my dream to work with nature, to see the wonders of this incredible world. And as soon as I finished my studies, I started to work as a scientist for 2 years, working with genetics. And then I stopped, and then I continued my journey. And I ended up working as a guide, and I found how beautiful it is to work with nature, but also with people. So I was just combining two of my biggest passion in the world, and I think there's no other incredible quote could describe it better than this, because my life has been an unexpected journey in so many ways, and I understood that you just need to believe and trust in the path, but you need to go always further. So I want to start this webinar with this question. So, for you, my audience, what do you think is a whale shark? A whale or a shark? So, Rob is going to help me out. You can write down your answers. So, I want to hear what do you think. Whale shark is a whale or a shark? Or I'm going to make it a little bit complicated. Or a fish. So, Rob, if you can help me to read the answers, that'll be fantastic.
All right. So if you do have an answer to this question, please feel free to submit it in the question field in your control panel. So far, we've got a couple of fish answers,
Yes.
and we've got a shark, a
Good.
couple of sharks, and one whale so far.
One whale. Okay. Good.
Lots of
Thank you so
sharks.
much.
Lots and
Lots of
lots of
fun. That's
sharks.
fantastic. Okay. So thank you so much for that, Rob. So, okay, a whale shark is essentially a shark. It is not a whale because whales are mammals and sharks are also fish. So we could say at the end that shark is it is a shark. A whale shark is a shark, but also is a fish because they are in this large group of animals that we call fish. They share the same characteristics with bunnyfish, but sharks they have other different features that we can discuss in another webinar. So today our main character is going to be the whale shark Rhincodon typus. And I'm going to talk about in this webinar about biology, about ecology, about food behavior as well, about tourism, about protection, conservation efforts, and also the vulnerability of this animal. But first, we're going to describe a whale shark. So these are the main features that we have. Whale sharks, they are pretty big. Also, they are called as gentle giants because indeed they are the largest fish and largest shark in the world. And first, they have the snout is in the front of the eyes. The eyes are in the sides. Okay, so we have here the eyes, and the eyes and the sides confer them a peripheral vision. They're really good in terms of seeing what is going on in the sides, but they have a blind spot in the front. All right. So next feature, they have five gill slits, one in the other, one in one side and one in the other. Some sharks they have five. Normally they have five, and others they have six pair of gill slits. And then we have three ridges that are in both sides, and they are from the head to the tail. And these long ridges basically are allowing to be hydrodynamic, right? Then we have two dorsal fins. We have one large and one small. And then we have a very strong caudal fin. This caudal fin is really thick in the middle, the conjunction between the body and the tail, and this helps them out to perform long last movements. I don't want to spoil you anything, but sharks are considered as highly migratory species. Also, we have two anal fins. We have two in the side spectral fins, and the most important characteristic that these beautiful sharks have is the color pattern. So in biology, we call species like this conspicuous. I know it's a very odd word, but conspicuous just means a species that is easy to be spotted. Like, for example, if you put a tiger outside of the savannah, I mean, the color is pretty easy to see, right? In the savannah, sometimes it's a little bit hard to see. But these organisms, they cannot pass unnoticed, all right? So what about relatives? Whale sharks, they belong to the order of Olectorobiformes. I know it sounds really weird, but it's Latin. And so if I ask you, for example, do you think that these have similarities with the whale sharks? The right answer will no, absolutely not. They don't have any characters in common, but indeed they have. That's why they belong to the same order. And we have on the upper left side the wabeguan, then we have on the right side the walking shark, and then we have a zebra shark. Those sharks, they are in the same order with the whale sharks as well. So I decided to put this because it's interesting. Even though whale sharks have been living in this world for millions of years, the first record was wrote in at the very end of the 19th century, and it was just like a tale. Like we saw this animal super big with white dots, and since then there are not so many reports about whale sharks. And despite I told you they are very conspicuous, easy to see, many of their characteristics remain unknown. There's not so many information about whale sharks, and this is just the mystery that they have, and something that um, that it's so attractive for many scientists. Yeah. So I'm gonna start to talk about this because when I told you I'm a certified whale shark guide, and every single time before I jumped to swim with the whale sharks, a common question is, Eric, I know that there are sharks, and I have in my head that sharks are these ferocious animals with big jaws and multiple teeth. Are they gonna bite us, or are they gonna harm us somehow? And my answer is no. And someone says immediately, yes, because they don't have teeth. No, indeed, they have teeth. They have more than 3,000 teeth, but they don't use it to bite their prey because they don't have the same purpose any longer. Actually, these are filter feeders. So what do? They just filter the water. And what do they filter? Plankton. And what is plankton? Plankton, we call plankton every single things that they don't have the ability to swim by themselves, therefore they just drift with the currents. So plankton could be two large groups: phytoplankton, aka the microalgae or the plants, microscopic plants, or zooplankton, the animals. So we have in the zooplankton, for example, we have different crustaceans, we have different eggs of different organisms, we have also tiny little fish, we have larvae from multiple organisms, and they're all floating on the surface and they perform vertical migration, all right, during the night. So this is the feeding behavior. So whale sharks, they have a very wide mouth, and they will have a passive and an active feeding behavior. When they're passive, they just remain on the surface and they're cruising with the mouth wide open, and they're just letting the water come in, and then they will filter all the plankton in the water. So for the case of the active feeding behavior, they will pump water. They will use energy. So in order to use energy, they know that they have to get as much food as possible. So they don't perform this all the time. So to be more specific, um, the whale shark body acts like as a natural pump. So basically, we have here the mouth, we have here the gill slits, and then here we have a gill rockers. So when they open their mouth, they suck the water and simultaneously they close the gill slits so they can create a vacuum to suck as much water as possible. Once the water is inside, they close the mouth and they open the gill slits to release the water. So they do this for two main reasons: to feed and also to breathe, to oxygenate these structures that we call gills. All right. So if you want to see this closer and more active, check this out. Yeah. So this is what they do when they find large concentrations of food. So this is undoubtedly so amazing because they can, like an adult, in average in one day, can filter the equivalent amount of one Olympic pool. So imagine how much energy are they investing in doing this. They do this because, of course, they know that they will get a lot of food from plankton, a lot of energy. So more filter feeders. So we have two other sharks that are filter feeders, but those are not really common, like whale sharks. And we have here on the top, we have this is the basking shark, the second largest shark in the world, and then we have underneath the megamouth shark. Both sharks are filter feeders, but in the case of the basking shark, they are cruising most of the time on the surface in cold water, especially in the Atlantic Ocean. So in the case of the megamouth, it's very rare. To be honest, it is very hard to find pictures of them because there's not a lot of information about them. They're totally opposite than conspicuous. We call cryptic. Cryptic is something hard to see. So I put this image because I want to ask you what is the similarity between a school bus and a shark? Of course, not the color, the size. Yeah. So this chart is telling us like the sizes of the sharks depending of the stages. So here we start with the pup. So once they born, apparently, so these are the reports from the scientists, and the sharks when they born, the main size is between 1 feet and 1.5 feet long, so they're not pretty big. And then as soon as they mature, they're getting larger very fast, very quickly. And in average, they reach the sexual maturity when they're like around 9 meters. But also it depends of the population that we speaking about. Sometimes, for example, they mature when they are 8 meters or 7.5, or sometimes 9 meters, 9.5. It all depends of different factors. Of course, temperature is involved in this. And of course, the largest shark reported was around 56, 57 feet, but this is very uncanny. This is very odd. We don't see animals with that sizes anymore. Normally, it's more common to see whale sharks ranging between 39, 53, 52. Yeah, that's more common. So about matureness and reproduction, okay? I told you before, when they're born, they're very little, but I'm just going 2 steps in ahead. I want to start with this. How do they mate? It remains completely unknown. What we know is what other sharks do. So this in the right side, in the right upper side, we have two like sausages structures. We call them claspers. The males have these claspers that they're equivalent of the penis in sharks, and when they mate, this encounter it is not pretty, it's not nice, it's not gentle, it's pretty rough. The male bites the entire body of the female, and once she's very tired, they lay down on the bottom, and the male finally can introduce one of the claspers. This is something that has been reported in other species, but in whale shark it remains unknown. We don't know because also they don't have teeth. We don't know how they have this very savage encounter. What we know is that once the females are pregnant, in the past people thought that whale sharks, because of the size, they're pretty big. Also, they can live between 80 and 130 years because of the long-lasting lifespan that they have, and they thought they might have very small offspring. But in 1998, in Taiwan, a female was caught, and people found inside of the female up 300 puppies with in different developed stages. So this was like like a huge break of paradigm for animals like this. Actually, they baptized this female as the Mega Mama Supreme. And interesting, how do they born? So basically, sharks, in this case, whale sharks, they have eggs inside. Some species of sharks, they lay the eggs on the bottom. Some of them, they birth alive puppies. In this case, they have eggs inside, and once they're ready, the eggs will hatch, but they will continue their development inside of the female. Once they're ready, the female will give them birth alive. So this is so incredible, and I've never in the internet a couple of pictures of baby sharks, and seriously, it's like how is it possible that an animal like this size could grow in a massive and powerful animal like this? So I like I put this picture on purpose because um, in feeding behavior, we have something that we call sexual and size segregation. Segregation means that there's a separation. Sexual means that females and males, they are not always in the same place, and size segregation means juveniles and adults are not coexisting in the same place and time. So in the case of the sexual segregation, there's not so much because actually in the feeding grounds, it's very common to see the sexual ratio between and one is one female, one male. But in the case of the sizes, they do have sexual segregation, and scientists have thought that maybe it's because they try to avoid competition between the big ones and the small ones, and that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So this is for me paramount, and this is like one of the key parts of this presentation. A lot of people ask us, to the guys, okay, what is the whale shark distribution? I want to know where I can find them. And the answer is the range is pretty wide. You can see them from basically in the tropic and subtropic waters, and in all the blue area. So this is considered as a cosmopolitan species. That means that it's like mostly all over the world. But the truth is that they like to gather in specific places during certain time of the year to feed upon the plankton, right? Or other organisms like small anchovies or small fish. So I put in red dots the most important hotspots that we have in the globe. So here we have a hotspot in the Sea of Cortez, in La Paz is one of the most important hotspots, also Bahia de Los Angeles, more in the north. We have here in Yucatan Peninsula one of the most important hotspots in the world, and then we have in Belize, also in Honduras, also we have another spot in Galapagos, and then we go further and we land in Africa. We have here in South Africa, in Mozambique, also we have in Seychelles Islands, we have in Maldives, we have in the Red Sea, we have in the Red Sea we have a very important hotspot in Djibouti, and then also in Oman, Yemen, Philippines. Ningal Reef in Australia is really important as well. Philippines, as Indonesia. So when they ask us, do they travel for long distance? The answer is yes. So luckily for scientists, tagging program has been an incredible tool in order to discover how long they can reach other places. So between 2006 and 2015, many surveys were conducted, and some of them reported that one shark was tagged in the Sea of Cortez, and after 841 days of tagging, the shark was found in Philippines. So this is so amazing. So even though they're not super fast creatures as mako sharks or as tuna fish, they indeed are like a marathonist, if you ask me. And they don't limit their distribution in one specific spot. To be honest, like some of them in one time of the year you can see them in the coast of South Africa, and then you can see them in Indonesia, and then if they are in Sea of Cortez, then some of them have been spotted in Galapagos. And there is, and how we know this, how we know this information, because it seems pretty complicated. And the answer is with this. So, audience, I introduce you to a very phenomenal tool that scientists have been using in many species. So, photo identification is an incredible tool, and basically using a constellation program just to measure the constellations, it was adapted to the whale sharks. And basically, this algorithm is measuring the distance between the dots. And with this, scientists found that sharks in the sides, if you take a picture of the side between the gill slits and the dorsal fin, that's a fingerprint for us. So they have a very unique and specific color pattern. So this is incredible because with this, scientists, citizen, and or NGOs, they were taking many pictures and they were building this super bulk, massive database with all these pictures. And with this information, they knew where the sharks were going. So, for example, if in summer one shark. Let's name this shark Juanita. Juanita was in this in was reported in, let's say, in La Paz, and then six months later, Juanita was reported in let's say Socorro Island. That means that Juanita is traveling from one place to another, and it's just phenomenal to see how the sharks are connecting different dots, different points in the globe. So with also with the photo ID program, here comes like a this is like the photo ID program with Esther. It's a tagging program. So um, tagging sharks has been very special because basically with these satellite tags, we are now following side by side the migratory route of a shark. So we know where they are. We know how much time are they spending in different places. And the most important thing that we know is that it was thought that the sharks only perform horizontal migration. But with this program, scientists found that they also performing vertical migration. This is so uncommon because sharks and fish they are considered as coastal animals that control the body temperature. Some of them they are adapted, but it's very odd. And whale sharks they were reported to be down below 3,000 feet. So why they are in these depths? It remains unknown, but it's so fascinating. Um, Another thing that I want to present to you is like in 2008, some scientists from different research centers, especially from the Smithsonian, they went to Yucatan Peninsula uh, to spot this large aggregation in Cabo Catoche of whale sharks, and they found that it was the largest concentrations of sharks have, like, ever reported. Around 420 sharks were recorded in this state. So this is massive. This is incredible. This is the largest concentration of sharks. And the reason why they are here is basically their food. In certain time of the year, some a specific type of tuna spawn in this area. Spawn is when they release their sexual cells, and basically the sharks are having a feasting eating all these eggs. So this is absolutely incredible. The reason why sharks they like to be close to the shores or a little bit offshore is for the currents. The currents and basically the shape of the seafloor are combining both are producing upwellings, which is the rise of nutrients to the surface. And if the waters are rich in nutrients, phytoplankton will perform its life cycle, and also other organisms like plankton and small fish. So symbiotic relationship is very common to hear a question. Eric, are those the babies of the shark? Not exactly. Those are remora fish, and remora fish are well known to be to establish relationships with other organisms. They like to attach themselves from the back. They have the sucker disc, and they attach themselves to different parts of the of either sharks, whales, or sea turtles. And what they do is that they feed upon the parasite that get stuck in the, in this case, the water skin. So this is a mutualist relationship. I help you, you help me. You give me food, and I'm cleaning you, and also I give you a ride, and I also protect you. I give you some protection. All right. So another type of relationship that they have is this is commensalism. In the left side, we have pilot fish. These are well common to follow different large animals like whales, sharks, and also some turtles. And basically, what they do is they're seeking for some safety spot. All right. Some big predators that won't get closer to the water because they're big animals. Okay, so this is what they do, and many times in La Paz, I've been witness of tornadoes or mackerel fish surrounding the shark, and what they're doing is that they are basically seeking for some protection, because if they're really close to the whale shark, you can see sometimes the tuna fish striking the schools and they feeding upon the mackerel. So this is just a way how they relate with other species. This is another type of symbiotic relationship, but we call it predation. So in this case, I'm taking everything from you. I'm going to kill you. So predators, when they're small, basically they're easy prey for many organisms, including uh, birds, fish, sharks, and so on. Once they are adult, they're pretty big. There's almost nothing that can stop them unless your name is killer whale. So killer whales are on top of the food chain. There's nothing above them. And killer whales are specialized to kill whale sharks because, not all of them, some of them, uh, and they only take because they only take the liver. They have sharks have two large lobes where they store large amounts of oil. This is rich in fat acid, and the orcas are delighted to feed upon these loaves. So I'm going to start to get into this topic that I don't like the most, but I found that it's important to be talked about, and it's about the relationship between humans and sharks. Although we live, we exist in the same world, I think like it's pretty unfair how is the relationship between from humans to the sharks, because I think we have been a little bit this not thankful with them with all the things that they have done, and I think there's a lot of things that we can do more in the future. So okay, there are some threats, and one of the most important, and I skip and I avoid to put very graphic pictures, but one of the most important is the traffic, the illegal traffic or of shark fins. Why? Because in some places in Asia and also in other places in the world, the shark fin soup is a delicacy in the menus. So basically, the whale sharks have the largest fins in the world, and unfortunately for them, they mix the fins are pretty valuable in the Chinese market. So the thing is that many large vessels, what the activity that has been performed the last years that is basically banned in many countries is the finning. So they catch the sharks and they remove the fins and they discard the animal, and sometimes it's still alive. This is pretty brutal, and yeah, in some countries this practice is completely banned. Another thing that it's a large threat is, I remember that I told you uh, the liver has so much oil, and apparently some scientists think, or some people think, that the shark liver oil is good as as a supplement. So yeah, this is something that has been happening in different countries, and of course, one of the most important is the microplastic. Okay, this is something that I tell my guests all the time. If you buy things and they say that these things are biodegradable, that doesn't mean that it's really good for the environment. The thing is that it's going to decompose faster, but it's going to decompose in tiny little things that we call microplastic that are the worst because we cannot see them. So microplastics have been um, documented as endocrine disruptors. They're not good for their health, neither to our health. So this is a very serious problem. Anthropogenic threats. Sometimes sharks are not part of the target fisheries. Sometimes they're taken by catch, and this means that they're taken by accident. They're taken accidentally. Sometimes, of course, the sharks are feeding upon these large schools of anchovies, and unfortunately, the fishermen are fishing also in this area, and they get caught and they die inside of the nets. Okay, one other factor that will be important to be considered is the climate change. But we know that climate change is it's something that is happening. It's affecting many things, and we are not going to talk about this too much today in another webinar. But what are the conservation efforts? What is like? I think like the world is it's well balanced. If we have evil, we have good. If we have kind, um, and in this case, the kindness from a lot of different organizations is incredible because a lot of people are aware about what's going on outside. And for example, in Mexico, we have World Track Mexico, which is an NGO that has been working in this photo identification program, and also the director of this NGO is sharing this information with Wildbook and other research programs and also NGOs around the globe are sharing the photos in Wildbook. So basically, for example, also if you're on vacations and you take a picture of your whale shark between, I told you before, between the third gill slit and the initial part of the dorsal fin, you can submit this picture and you just need to fill out all the form, where did you see it, and so on. So that's fantastic because with this you will contribute into to this photo identification program, and of course our partner what is WWF doing in mainly in Central America is supporting tagging programs, and also is helping out communities to change from fisheries to ecotourism, which is undoubtedly something really really great. So for me, this is important. Tourism as a conservation tool. I think tourism is just a great answer, and it has a very positive cascade effects in local communities because I think it's very complicated, and I've seen this in the past. I used to work with in a research in a shark laboratory when I was at school, and we used to work side by side with fishermen, and it was very interesting to arrive and asking if we could take the samples from blood, of course from dead sharks. And for me at the beginning was like I cannot deal with this. It's pretty hard. My heart was completely broken. But also I understood that when you try to protect something, you cannot rule out the local communities. It's really important to integrate the local communities to this new program. And no matter how many times you tell them that this is good, this will bring benefit to all of us, people need to actually believe in it. They have to believe that this is the right path. Because no matter how many restrictions you put, if people are not conscious enough to really understand the huge impact that these tools can make in the future, they won't change. And tourism is just phenomenal if it's conducted in a proper way with a proper management plan, with a very vague guideline. So what I don't like about tourism, and I've seen this many times in the water, is basically the example of ego. I like to say like let's do more ecotourism and not too much ego tourism. I saw many times, and also I've asked many times by my guests, hey, Eric, can you take a picture of me? I want to say hi. So I want to be like this while I'm next nearby the shark. And it's like, okay, let's try to be more passive observers. Let's just remember, we are in the water. We don't own the water. They own these waters, and we are just guests. Let's just act as a guest, and let's be friendly. Let's be respectful. We don't need to fit them. We don't need to ride them. We don't need to be in these crowded waters touching the sharks. Um, Despite they are, as I told you before, the largest shark in the world, they're very fragile. They're very sensitive. It remains unknown how sensitive their senses are, but the eyes, for example, in sharks are pretty sensitive. The sense of smell and also the ear is really sensitive as well. So we need to be very respectful if we want to have this kind of interaction, in my opinion. So hotspots in Mexico. I was very lucky to work in both places, in Yucatan Peninsula and also in La Paz, in the Sea of Cortez. And of course, I have more information from La Paz because I worked there for 5 years. And if I compare both places, I would say that they're completely different. I was able to lead three trips in with natural habitat in Yucatan Peninsula. Unfortunately, that trip is not conducted by natural habitat anymore because despite we have large concentrations, also we had really like a lot of boat concentrations as well, and we thought that it wasn't this beautiful and intimate experience that we want to offer to our guests. But that's another topic. So, but if I compare these two, yes, we have the big ones. We have adults in Yucatan Peninsula. We have crystal clear waters. The waters are warmer. Of course, that it takes more time to get to that place. And in the La Paz, we don't have that amount of sharks. We have the juveniles only that are between 8 feet long and 24. But in La Paz, there's a lot of food, especially after windy days. The guys who are here watching the presentation won't let me lie. Sometimes when they reach large amounts of food, they stay in vertical position like this, and they're just sucking the water in. And this is something that I call the belly dance. They're just spinning around, and this is so magical to be seen. And what we have in La Paz as well is a management plan. This is really good because in the past we didn't count with this. We didn't have any regulation. So in La Paz, for example, we have both captain and guide have to be certified. We also have to count with a first aid course or license. All the boats come with the GPAs. They know where we are. It's like a roulette-like activity where boats go in and boats go out. We also have to have a federal license in order to perform this activity. And here, this is the only place that we are allowed to swim with the whale sharks, which is not really big. We're talking about, if I could remember, like like 6 miles, if I could remember, which is like a lot. It is not that much. So another thing that we are not allowed to do in the past, for example, is we are not allowed to obstruct or swim in front of the sharks. I know that this has some mistakes. This is part of the party, no worries. Life jacket or wetsuit is mandatory. We are not allowed to ride them or damage them or touch them, of course. And maximum number of swimmers, 5 per guide. And it's important we don't share sharks with other boats as well. We have to keep our distance, and we only have 30 minutes of serving the shark. So this has been great. I know that a lot of things have been it needs to be done, but I think step by step, and we're doing fantastic in La Paz in terms of this activity. Oops. Okay. About personal experiences, uh, this little guy with a purple shirt, believe it or not, is me. That was the first time that I swam with a whale shark. I was 18 years old, if I could remember, and I was very nervous. I was very nervous to do this activity. And before we jumped, I remember that my heart was beating so fast. And seriously, no guides, no certified captain. I just remember my cat yelling at me, saying, "Go, go further, swim, 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 swim." And you were like, "Where is the shark? I don't see any shark." And after 2 hours, I took this picture of the whale shark. Sorry for the quality. It was with a very old phone, but I dreamt with this picture for many times. And remembering about life is an unexpected journey. I've never thought I will become a whale shark guide, to be honest. And that for me that was the best thing that I've done. I was in my happy place, and and I really enjoyed, as I said before, the combination between working with people and with animals like this. So the picture on the right, was for me the most beautiful tour that I've ever had. I have a really good memory, and I swam with a couple from Canada. They were not really skillful in the water, and luckily for us, the Welshers gave us the most beautiful gift. And they were all of them. They were swimming in vertical position, and they were having this belly dance, and they were spinning around, and they're feeding. Sometimes, like I remember one time, I was surrounded by 5 or 6, and I was just pulling my people to not interrupt them, and I was just enjoying a massive food frenzy. And seriously, this could be very touchy. And it is indeed really touchy for many people. And one of the most beautiful outcomes that we got for this activity is basically the human relationships that we can build. So, um, a very short story. Um, Before we jumped, I like to see the my guest eyes. Sometimes you can see that they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. They not feel really secure with this activity because we have been taught that sharks are these killer machines and we are not safe in the water while they're there. And we had this as a paradigm. So, of course, that once you are about to swim with the largest shark in the world, this idea popped up and you are feeling unsafe. But I try to convince them that it's completely safe and all the moment I'll be there for them. So after the last jump, something magical changed in their eyes. And now you see the spark. You see like if a very heavy weight is completely is completely out. They don't have these thoughts about whale sharks. They are more People are more happy about this activity. And for me, this is paramount because with this opportunity, you have the chance to change a little bit the mindset of the people with this. Because I think like the flame is already ignited and people will become more conscious about these organisms because they have seen they have been experienced this and and yeah and there's a must to do after this. So remember that I told you about that day that was fantastic. I was able to take this video for you, and this is a like a small like video of a shark feeding upon the plankton. Okay, so yeah, this shark was feeding at least for 1 hour in this position. That was so incredible. And you see how many small fishes are around. They're taking advantage of the massive bodyguard that they have in front of them, and also they're feeding upon the plankton at the same time. So that was very magical, and I'm very lucky that I was able to record this. So at the end, human connection. There's undoubtedly a beautiful human connection between animals and humans, but I think we just need to reach it. It's out there. It's out there all the time in our daily basis, with butterflies, with birds, with dogs, with all the animals that surround. We just need to take our time to really understand what is our role in this ecosystem, because whether I like it or not, we are part of this. We are not as the apex creature in this world. We are part of this entangled net of incredible connections that nature has. So we need to understand that part in order to believe that there's going to be in the future, especially for them. So thank you very much for being part of this incredible journey. Let me know if you have some questions. Maybe I have the answers for you. Even no is an answer. So,
All right, Eric, thank you so much. Now, before we start in with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. All right, so let's get to some of these questions. Um, so, can you explain a little bit more about the difference between what biodegradable is and how it's not safe for the environment.
oh
We
yes,
have
for
some
sure.
confusion.
Yeah. Actually, for example, in the case of the plastic bags, we have two types, biodegradable and biocompostable. So biodegradable means that the polymers that are forming this plastic bag are going to destroy faster. So in the past, for example, the plastic was more durable, and it took many years to destroy the whole plastic, like to turn down in small pieces. So biodegradable means that you won't see the plastic bag because it will be destroyed in less time. I don't have the right amount of time, but it's going to be less than before. But the microplastic is going to be there. So if there's another option, biocompostable, that means that those plastic bags are biocompostable, are made out of organic stuff, which gonna go back to the earth, for example, or to the environment as well. But they're organic. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. So, what kind of effect do the boats have that go to see the sharks on the sharks or their food source?
That's a really good question, and the answer is, uh, if the boats are not controlling their speed, this could be very risky for the sharks, because could you imagine if a shark is swimming in the midwater? It's not on the surface, it's not on the bottom, it's the midwater. And then the boat is going super, super fast. And like, unfortunately, the shark, once it goes to the surface, bam, the propeller is hitting the shark. So in La Paz, for example, we have seen many sharks with some injuries the last years. So that's a big problem, because some people are pointing out us that we, like, the tourism is affecting the sharks. But the thing is that, for example, in the very specific case of La Paz, the past is going so fast that we don't have in this specific region only boats doing the activity. We have other people, private boats, yachts doing the activity, and those are unaware of what's going on in these waters. Sharks are not only, we don't have them in a corral in one specific place feeding, they can be scattered wherever they want. So yeah, if we are not regulating the situation, we will have more herded sharks, definitely. Yeah.
So, if we go out to see the sharks on a boat and we've taken our turn and come back in, how long do we have to wait before we take another turn if 30 minutes is just not enough for us?
Oh yeah. So 30 minutes is just the maximum amount of time that you have with one shark. But in La Paz, this information is from La Paz. You can They give you 2 hours to do this activity. So in my experience, 2 hours is more than enough, because from the pier, from the dock to the whale shark area, it's like a 10-minute boat ride. It's so close to the shore. So, and relatively, they're very easy to be spotted. So 2 hours, it's a great amount of time.
So, given the huge number of tourists that do seem to congregate down there in the area to see the whale sharks, uh, it seems like it's really important to try to limit the number of people. How does that happen?
So again, this is just in La Paz. I know that in some countries, for example, they don't limit the amount of people that could swim with a shark. But at least in La Paz, for example, we have four turns during the day. Each turn has 2 hours, and so again, only five people in the water at the same time with one shark. And as with in this area we have 14 boats. So as soon as one boat leaves the area, another one goes in, but there's always 14 or less boats doing the activity, and the area is pretty big for everyone. Sometimes you don't see boats. So this is fantastic because this is a way how we regulate the activity. Before it was more strict. They said only 10 people per boat, but that was like a little bit inconvenient for those who had larger boats. So now it's like the maximum capacity of your boat, but remember, five people in the water, 2 hours in total, and we have four turns during the day. I guess four or five. I think it's five. Yeah.
So, can ecotourism, can the carbon offset, can it really be offset?
Okay, excuse me. Can you repeat me that question?
Yes, I'm sorry. Uh,
Yeah.
the carbon footprint uh, for ecotourism, is it possible to really offset all of the carbon that get used?
It is very interesting that question, and actually, I don't know the full answer for this. But something that I've known from our sustainability director, Kurt Millen, is that, for example, in our company, what we do is we calculate the amount of CO2 that we produce, and we offset this amount doing um, doing different activities. For example, planting trees is a good option, or supporting local communities, or supporting local projects who are environmental friendly. So it is possible to offset this, but this is not it has not been performed in La Paz yet, because I understand that also the engines are consuming gas and we're producing CO2. This is a next step. This is something that we can do, and this is something that we call um, first we have ecotourism, and then we have sustainable tourism, and then we have regenerative tourism, which is like very like very hard to achieve. But that's something that we should go in the future.
So, can whale sharks protect themselves in case of an orca attack?
Oh, this is a really good question. And the answer is, unfortunately, once I spotted about a family of orchids is very complicated. That they can get a life from this because orcas are skillful, they have large teeth, and they work as a team. And even though sharks, they have a very thick layer of skin. Actually, this is the thickest in the animal kingdom. The layer of skin, it's like around 5 inches. It's very thick. It's like big armor. The belly, for example, is in many organisms is the most vulnerable thing in of their body. So yeah, it's pretty um, sorry, I had it's pretty it's not going to survive, to be honest.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Eric.
Yeah.
So, does NatHab come down to La Paz? And if I wanted to see whale sharks with NatHab, is that possible?
I hope that my my trip owner is watching this webinar because yeah, we after we canceled this trip in Yucatan Peninsula, we tried effortlessly to design an itinerary in La Paz. That will be fantastic. That will be our next step. I mean, we have the connections, we have the people there. Hopefully, in the future, we will have an itinerary in La Paz. That will be fantastic for all of us. Stay tuned. Yeah.
Great, Eric. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that is going to be the last question that we do have time for today. So I'd like to hand it back to you for any closing comments you may have.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that if you have the chance to do this activity, whether it's in Mexico or another country, I highly recommend you to inform yourself. Inform if in these places they have a management plan, if their activities are conducted in a very disrespectful way, because we want to be more ecotourism and less ecotourism in the future. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Eric, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. If you are interested in information on how you can travel with NatHab, please give us a call at 800-543-8917, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including our registration links, at our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.